The Global Jamaica Diaspora Coalition kicks off its second biennial Diaspora Conference online, Sunday, June 14th to Thursday, June 18th from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 6 to 9 p.m. Jamaica time. Join this impressive lineup of speakers as they discuss and provide solutions to crime, agriculture, health, economics, tourism, and beach rights access. All are invited and it's totally free. No airline tickets, no hotels, no peddling. Just one diaspora, one voice. That's the second biennial Diaspora Conference, June 14th to 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 6 p.m. Jamaica time. Join us on YouTube channel Reason with Rattigan. One diaspora, one voice, one Jamaica. Sponsored by our people, for the people.
criticize for the people every day. Defending your rights, I saw him stay. We'll fight for the people every day. Risk him life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights, I saw him stay. Say from him slip up all eyes on him. I defend the people, them said spice on him. Even politicians spread lies on him. But we know the bugger them not wise like him. Back up, them not ties on him. Them know said that the people rely on him. You know said them bring out them cries through him. That's why all the people them respect him. Just like Selassie and Marcus Garvey. Rock you all the order of the Trinity. A real strong soldier in a army. No simpleton can disarm you. We'll fight for the people every day. Risk him life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights, I saw him stay. We'll fight for the people every day. Risk him life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights, I saw him stay. How long them a gonna know say that them fire can't cool? How long them a gonna take our people for food? Nah build no houses, them nah build no school. Think them up the handle but of the most I rule. Them better stop criticizing. Cause what them a do now phase him. You know the man no lazy. All them a talk, them a the one red crazy. We'll fight for the people every day. Risk him life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights, I saw him stay. We'll fight for the people every day. Risk him life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights, I saw him stay. Say from him slip up all eyes on him. I defend the people, them said spice on him. Even politicians spread lies on him. But we know the bugger them not wise like him. Back up, them not ties on him. Them know said that the people rely on him. You know said them bring out them cries through him. That's why all the people them respect him. Just like Selassie and Marcus Garvey. The man hold the harder of the Trinity. A real strong soldier in a army. No simpleton can disarm you. Them fight for the people every day. Risk them life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights, I saw him stay. Them fight for the people every day. Risk him life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights, I saw him stay. Them fight for the people every day. Risk him life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights, I saw him stay. Most High Jah, guide us now, yeah. Our people need to see the light. Turn it up right. He will fight for the people every day. Risk him life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights, I saw him stay. We'll fight for the people every day. Risk him life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights, I saw him stay. Say from him slip up all eyes on him. I defend the people, them said spice on him. Even politicians spread lies on him. But we know the bugger them not wise like him. Back up, them not ties on him. Them know said that the people rely on him. You know said them bring out them cries through him. That's why all the people them respect him. Just like Selassie and Marcus Garvey. Rock you all the order of the Trinity. A real strong soldier in a army. No simpleton can disarm you. We'll fight for the people every day. Risk him life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights, I saw him stay. We'll fight for the people every day. Risk him life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights, I saw him stay. How long them a gonna know say that them fire can't cool? How long them a gonna take our people for food? Nah build no houses, them nah build no school. Think them up the handle but of the most I rule. Them better stop criticizing. Cause what them a do now phase him. You know the man no lazy. All them a talk, them are the one red crazy. We'll fight for the people every day. Risk them life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights, I saw him stay. We'll fight for the people every day. Risk them life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights, I saw him stay. Step from him, step up all eyes on him. I defend the people, them set spice on him. Even politicians spread lies on him. But we know the bugger them not wise like him. Back up, them not no ties on him. Them know said that the people rely on him. You know said them bring out them cries through him. That's why all the people them respect him. Just like Selassie and Marcus Garvey, the man hold the harder of the Trinity. A real strong soldier in a army. No simpleton can disarm me. Them fight for the people every day. Risk them life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights. I saw.
Now get instructions still, people. Hold on. All right. Good evening, good evening. Can you hear me, my people? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? As them say, you over there, so can you hear me? You over there, so. And you around the car. All right, we're good, we're good. People, welcome, welcome, welcome to the fourth day of this exciting conference, the one online, the one that you don't have to pay any money to attend. 1 second, please. Yeah, the one that's free as a bird in the tree. I could just put it up back here. I'll just put this up back here and oops. Here it is. 1 second, please. There it is. Here we go.
Global Jamaica Diaspora Coalition kicks off its second biennial diaspora conference online Sunday, June 14th to Thursday, June 18th from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 6 to 9 p.m. Jamaica time. Join this impressive lineup of speakers as they discuss and provide solutions to crime, agriculture, health, economics, tourism, and beach rights access. All are invited and it's totally free. No airline tickets, no hotels, no peddling. Just one diaspora, one voice. That's the second biennial diaspora conference, June 14th to 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 6 p.m. Jamaica time. Join us on YouTube channel Reason with Rattigan. One diaspora, one voice, one Jamaica. Sponsored by our people for the people.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I want to thank each and every one of you for making the wise decision to be with us this evening until tonight. Please go and tell a friend, a family member, your neighbor, whoever. Tell somebody to come and join us. If they're interested in what's going on in Jamaica, and what is going on in the diaspora. Because this is why we're here. We're here to talk about the diaspora and Jamaica and the connection, if there is one. Now, let me just put this up. Today's the Wednesday, June 17th. It's the fourth day. We have one more day. Tomorrow, Thursday night, will be the last day of the conference. Today, as I mentioned earlier, we have an exciting program. We're expecting Dr. Kenny Thompson and Dr. Alfred Dawes to join us. Dr. Dawes, of course, will speak on the health sector, the crisis facing Jamaicans and visitors. And Dr. Kenny Thompson will focus on the economy. And by the way, I have some stats from Statin that I'd like to share with you as well. Very interesting. Shows that the economy is not doing as well as forecasted and as told. But what's new? It's Jamaica. You know what? I forgot. There's this one video I have to play. And some of you received this video and you asked me, you said, please play that video whenever you get a chance. Let me see if I can find it. Kevin was just with us, but he has to go set up for his program tonight, so I have to see if I can find it. Again, hold on one second. Here's a video. Because today they start, let me show you. Let me just move this and then start out with this. Today, they're talking about mobilizing. They love that word, mobilizing diaspora volunteerism for social impact and national development. What does that mean? Doesn't mean a damn thing. Doesn't mean a damn thing. Day 3, okay. It starts right here. Leveraging the creative economy to build stronger cultural industries. Cultural. And remember what we said, part of culture is what? Language. It's also music. It's food. It's our demeanor, our style, our clothing. It's a whole lot of things, but language is central to our culture. And we all know what happened recently in Parliament. And so I think we should start off by playing this video about culture. But let me just show you this. Harnessing diaspora talent to build Jamaica's AI and digital future. They don't want any information from us. Oh, by the way, harnessing diaspora talent to build Jamaica's AI and digital future. We have some people coming to Jamaica pretty soon. They're in transit. They're called TCNs, third country nationals. A lot of them have this talent here. So when they're in Jamaica, the 25 of them, or 25 at a time, when they're there, you can ask them about this. They will help to wreck the system, because I can tell you that some of them coming back, they will be, some of them coming to Jamaica will be coming with these skills. And your banking system, not to say your financial houses, your businesses, government offices, agencies, departments, private sector, with those skills and the poor security in Jamaica, you just watch and see what's going to happen. Then they go right here, expanding diaspora engagement across borders, global market access, global networks, and foreign trade. Again, people, this has nothing to do with you. It's all about companies and rich people getting richer. And then they come with this mobilizing diaspora volunteerism for social impact. And there it is. Oh, beautiful words like a string of pearls, but they mean absolutely nothing to most of us. Then they have the closing session and declaration, then close day of empowerment. And the day of empowerment means that they're going to take you to the craft market so you can buy goods made in China, Taiwan, Vietnam, etc. That's the only benefit that some Jamaicans will see. That's it. So let's go back to the creative economy. And then let me find this video. We have a lot of news to report today, and we're going to do some of them on Saturday. But let me find this. I'm gonna find this video with talking about culture. A second. Culture, where is it? One sec. Oh, here it is. This is one. And then we have two. All right. Here's the first one.
The woman you see in this video did something in Jamaica's parliament which might just change their whole history forever.
Hold on. Standing orders. And I think you are fully aware. And if I have to stop you again during your presentation, you will not get any additional time.
So apparently, the woman you see in this video goes by the name Nikisha Betchel. She is actually an opposition MP in Jamaica and also a spokesperson for culture, creative industries, and also information. Now, during a sectorial debate presentation, she decided to open a debate on culture with the first two lines in patois and was immediately shut down by the House Speaker, making it clear that the patois is not allowed and not to be used in the parliament, even though they are in Jamaica where a lot of people speak this particular language.
Madam Speaker, me get up this afternoon to make my first sectoral speech. For my portfolio. Hold on. Standing orders. And I think you are fully aware. And if I have to stop you again during your presentation, you will not get any additional time. Madam Speaker, perhaps I should abandon that attempt to use our local language. Because maybe there is no more fitting way to begin a presentation on culture than to speak briefly in the language understood by the overwhelming majority of Jamaican people. Let me give you the Queen's English.
Now, this has sparked a lot of conversations, especially considering the fact that somewhere in 2025, this particular state minister was allowed to use Spanish to address a couple of diplomats that came to their parliament.
Ha sido lleno del apoyo de Cuba en muchos aspectos, especialmente.
From the beginning, I'm not aware of what he's saying. I don't speak Spanish. Understand in order that is written. For this house, you must speak in English and English only. I have no idea what he's saying.
But leeway was granted by the speaker to allow specifically for him to speak in Spanish.
Now, this is something that I would applaud the Ghana Parliament for. I mean, even though English language is used as a standard one to address the Parliament, the use of the local language is not prohibited. I mean, there have been instances where a couple of people were allowed to address the parliament in their local language. Now, according to this woman, Nikisha Betchel, she did it intentionally just to raise the awareness in Jamaica.
That was me disrupting it. That was me spurring the conversation to say it's time for change. And clearly, Parliament wasn't ready for that conversation. But you know who's ready for it? The diaspora. For Read Across Jamaica Day last week, I went to a couple schools in my constituency. I didn't bring an English book about Spider-Man, Superman. I brought Anansi Stories by Louis Bennett. And I was surprised a lot of the kids, they don't know who is Brother Tukuma. They don't know who is Big Boy. They don't know who's Anansi. We're losing it. And if we don't disrupt it, jolt society, then we're going to stay the same.
Reggae music was never made to entertain you. It was actually made to wake you up. Because in Rastafari, reggae music is a spiritual warfare through sound, which every bass line carries history, every lyrics carries wisdom, and every song carries purpose. It's used to praise Jah, spread love, and to awaken minds. It carries memories, pain, resistance, and truth. Artists like Bob Marley didn't just sing songs, they preached consciousness. Because when Bob Marley sang, he wasn't just performing, he was delivering truth. When Peter Tosh also said equal rights and justice, that wasn't a chorus, that was a demand. And Benny Spear, when he chants about Marcus Garvey, that's history they never taught you. Reggae exposes Babylon, uplifts the oppressed, and reminds I and I who we are. That is why when you hear it, you don't just listen, you feel it in your soul. So no, reggae is not entertainment. Reggae is actually revelation. So don't just vibe to reggae, because if you really listen, you realize that reggae is not music. Reggae is education through vibration. Because a song today can be a revelation tomorrow. On that note, I and I say, Jah, King Selassie I.
That is culture, my people. And there it is, we have part of the culture of Jamaica being explained by two people who are not Jamaicans. And yet when our people try to express themselves in our language, we hear that, no, you must speak in the King's English. You must do that. Well, I wonder how they conducted this one today. I wonder if any patois was spoken at this 9 o'clock meeting. I doubt it. I doubt it. See, we try to run from ourselves. And that's part of the brainwashing, that we don't love who we are. Other people embrace who we are, but not us. That self-hate is a devastating thing. Self-hate is a devastating thing. And we perpetuate it. People perpetuate it on us, and we continue to do so to ourselves instead of pushing back and saying, no, it's not going that way. So that's what they did today, which is, in summary, nothing. It will not help a single one of you watching this program. Not a single one of you will be helped by the topics they discussed today and the trip they're going to take tonight. No way, no how. But the show must go on. And so we're going to be talking about things that they don't want to talk about. And like I said, we are awaiting our guests. We have with us tonight two. Colin Bell is supposed to be with us. I think he's going to join us later. Sister Maria is supposed to be with us. Dr. Canute Thompson is supposed to be with us. And Dr. Alfred Dawes. Dr. Alfred Dawes is in Parliament right now, so I don't know if he's going to make it, because there's a lot going on in Parliament today, and I'm sure you've heard the news about Dr. Wheatley. And I am going to certainly read that report. I'm going to delve in that report, and then on Saturday, I'll be able to go into it and tell you exactly what's going on. We don't follow headlines around here. We go to the source. We go straight to the report. And we spend our time with the report. We familiarize ourselves with the report. And then when we come to you with excerpts from the report. Because we don't have the time to go through the entire thing, but at least we can do the excerpt. So we can put it up and show you. So for now, I tell you what, you're hearing a lot about the third country nationals transiting through Jamaica with the possibility of permanent stay. Don't watch the headlines. Please don't watch the headlines. Tune in to Reason with Rattigan this Saturday, because I watched the post-cabinet briefing today and I listened to the Minister of National Security. And he talked For he spewed garbage. I thought he was going to go into the, this issue in detail, but he didn't. His remarks were very general and they were very short. The press release that they put out yesterday, far more details than what was given today. And when you look at the press release, when you examine it against what was said today, and you compare and contrast and juxtapose all those two to what the US government has said, and my understanding of these diplomatic nuances, MOUs, agreements. On Saturday, I'm going to break it down to you, and I'm going to show you. Remember what I said to you, Approach these things with a critical mind. You listen to what's being said and pay close attention to every single word. Every single word carries some weight, greater or lesser, but carries weight. And I want you to be able to pick apart these comments, these remarks, these speeches, and walk away with an understanding of what wasn't said. Because a lot of times, what wasn't said is of far greater import than what was said. And today, at the post-cabinet briefing, was a perfect example of that. Perfect example. CD Machine said, do you think America is sending some very innocent in? CD Machine, it's a good question. It's a good question. I don't want to preempt the program on Saturday, but it's a very good question. And we're going to get to it on Saturday as to who's coming, who's doing the vetting, their skill sets, what's in it for Jamaica, what's not in it for Jamaica. Can Jamaica say no? Or could Jamaica say no because they've already signed the MOU? But they say it's an MOU, so it doesn't take effect until the wheels start to turn. So between now and the turning of the wheels, do you think Jamaica has the gumption to say, no, we have spoken to our people? That's another point. Did the Jamaican government consult the people? I mean, we elect them to represent us, but it doesn't mean that you ignore us. We didn't elect you to ignore us. This is something that at the very least should be broached with the Jamaican people. Should be broached. Whether you're going to do it or not, that's something separate and apart. What I'm saying is that it's something that there should be some kind of discussion with the people of Jamaica. And there was no such discussion. Instead, it was, this is what's going to happen. And we signed the MOU. And then they come and they try to poo-poo it and say, nah, there's nothing here, nothing to worry about. If it had been a different government, a government of honesty and ethics and trustworthiness, you could say, all right, if they say there's nothing to worry about, we trust them. But they have a history of being untrustworthy. They have a history of making promises and breaking them. They have a history of telling untruths. They have a history of distracting you from the truth. They show you the shiny object and the real issue is over there, and they're showing you this and you're following this and it's over there. So we can't trust them. Simply cannot trust this government. And because we can't trust them, we have to be very leery about these types of agreements. A question was asked of him today. Mr. Minister, will the MOU be made public? And he said, yes, it's a public document. Yes, it's not a public document. It's not a public document. We're going to play all of it on Saturday. It's not a public document. But he said, yes, he committed to the Jamaican people to release the MOU concerning the TCNs. Let's wait to see if that's going to happen. And also what we should be wary of is whether or not things are going to be excised or redacted, meaning they give you a document that is not the original document because things have been taken out, or they give you the original document, but then they black out things, they redact things, so you can't really see certain things. But there is so much going on, my people. There's so much going on. A lady supporter called and asked me about NARA. Say, hey, Mr. Rattigan, I don't know anything about NARA. Can you explain? Well, this Saturday, we're going to have an expert on NARA. Anything, everything you ever wanted to know about NARA, you will know this Saturday. Trust me on that. Anything and everything you want, you would like to know about NARA, you will know this Saturday. So we have three basic topics this Saturday. We have the TCNs, we have NARA, and then we have one that just came to light this afternoon. And that is the tabling of the, I haven't read the report yet, but I have the conclusions. And I just based on the conclusion, I'm going to put the integrity back in the commission's name. I'm going to put it back. Because they've recommended that Dr. Andrew Wheatley be prosecuted for, among other things, illicit enrichment. The same thing that they're trying to prosecute the Prime Minister for. And there is also a charge there. Actually, two of the charges, I think there are 4 charges. 2 of them relate to knowingly providing false information to the Integrity Commission. And as we know, he's not the only person of high-ranking stature who's accused of this. Our own Prime Minister was accused of that. And we're still waiting to see whether or not he will be prosecuted. So there are 2 charges for knowingly providing false information. There's a charge for failing to respond when requested. And then the 4th is illicit enrichment. Those are the 4 charges. We'll show you all of that. We'll show you all of that. But let me start with this video. I played this video, I think it was last week, Saturday. Many of you reached out to me. Yeah, it was this past Saturday. Many of you reached out to me and said, listen, we want a copy of that video because it describes Jamaica to a T. Now, some people say it describes a lot of countries. Yes, but we're not talking about a lot of countries. We're talking about Jamaica, and we're exceptional people. So when we do things that are less than exceptional, we have to highlight it. And sometimes you learn through satire. You learn through not necessarily the real life experience, but you learn through other means. You know, some people learn through songs, some people learn through dance, some people learn through, you know, people giving you a situation that is not the original situation. Some people learn through laughter, jokes. Listen to this one and tell me what you learn.
Fellow animals, if you vote for me, once I'm elected, I will become a vegetarian.
Wait, what?
Did the lion just say vegetarian?
I think he hit his head.
No more hunting! No more chasing! No more running for your lives when you see me! Free bananas for every monkey! Free carrots for every rabbit!
President Lion! President Lion!
My fellow animals, today I make another promise. If I become president, I will make sure all animals become vegetarians. Mr. Lion. Yes? If you become vegetarian, what exactly will you eat? Grass. You've never eaten grass. I'll learn. And the other carnivores? They'll learn too. That doesn't sound realistic. My friend, that's why it's called a vision. Remember, vote Lion for a peaceful future.
What happens when you become president?
There will be opportunities for everyone in this room.
Power. I like money.
Then we're all going to get along very well.
The public thinks you're sleeping.
Good.
Nobody followed us.
Excellent.
So why are we here?
What I'm about to say never leaves this room. Of course, during the day, I speak about equality. And at night, I speak to my friends.
What do we get if you win?
You'll receive exclusive food collection contracts.
Exclusive?
No competition.
I like that.
And priority access to food supplies.
Now you're speaking my language.
What about us? You'll control national security. You know our job is insecurity? That's exactly why you're perfect for the job. I like the way you think. When I become president, nobody will understand better than animals who create insecurity. And the rivers? You'll oversee every river permit. Every permit? Nobody crosses a river without your approval. Interesting.
What position do we get?
Minister of Economic Planning.
I know nothing about economics. Perfect.
Perfect. You'll fit right in.
Sir,
Yes?
you promised half the forest projects to the rhinos.
Correct.
You promised security control to the leopards.
Correct. You promised river control to the crocodiles. Correct.
You promised exclusive food contracts to the hyenas.
Correct.
Correct.
And a ministry to the vultures.
Correct.
Can you actually do all that? That's tomorrow's problem. What happens if they compare notes? They won't. And if they do, by then, the election will be over. That's your plan? That's politics.
The election is already won.
My fellow animals, the people have spoken.
We did it! We did it!
Nobody will go hungry. I hope you're right.
Congratulations, Mr. President. Let's get to work.
Oil price adjustment. How much?
30%.
Will anyone complain?
For a few days.
And then?
They'll get used to it.
Excellent.
Effective immediately?
Immediately. Should I prepare a public explanation? No need.
Why did the fare double?
Fuel prices.
Already?
Talk to the president.
No customers. No sales. At this rate, I'll be closed by next month. Mr. President?
Yes?
The people are struggling. Food prices are rising. Transport costs are rising. Families are suffering.
They struggled before me.
Yes, but
They'll struggle after me.
then what changed?
The president.
Mom, can I have more?
Not today.
Why?
We have to make it last.
What's this? Our future.
That's huge.
Private roads?
Marble floors?
Private swimming pools?
Only the best. For who? For us.
Transport costs went up? How much is the bread? Yesterday it was 5, and today 10. 10! Mr. President!
Yes?
The people say they can no longer afford food. Prices are rising everywhere. What do you say to them?
What do you say to them? The people must learn to manage their money better.
Manage what money?
Next question.
10 coins.
I can't afford my medicine.
We have to make it last. We voted for this?
The future has never looked brighter. My fellow animals. Effective immediately, all animals will begin paying a new national development tax. This sacrifice is necessary for the future of our great kingdom.
Another tax? We can't even afford bread anymore! And now this? How much more are we supposed to take?
Enough is enough! Enough is enough! No more taxes!
Look how many people came! I've never seen this before.
No more taxes! Keep marching!
Sir! They're not stopping. What is it? How many today? More than yesterday. And tomorrow? Probably more. Bring me hyena.
You called? Look outside. That's a lot of angry animals. Yes. Should we worry? No. Then what's the plan? We don't fight the protest. We don't? No. We make the protesters fight each other. Now you're talking. Create 8 social pages. Done. Make each page represent a different animal group. Easy. Tell the fast animals the slow animals are holding them back. I like it. Excellent. Make every group believe they're a victim.
Can you believe this? They're blaming us now? This is ridiculous! Who posted that? I don't care. I'm responding.
We were marching together yesterday!
That was before I saw what your group thinks of us.
That's not what we're protesting!
I don't care anymore!
Where is everyone?
At home arguing.
The protest is dying.
But nothing changed.
Arguments continue between animal groups across the kingdom. Protest attendance has dropped significantly. The plan worked. Of course it did. Why does it always work? Because hungry animals united are dangerous, and hungry animals divided? Manageable. 3 days ago, we were all marching together. Now we're fighting each other.
People, that's exactly what's going on. It's exactly what's going on. You make your promises, you break them, and you hear what he said. Don't worry about the people. They'll forget about it. Send out distracting messages. Let them fight among themselves while we continue to hoard and we continue to prosper. All right. Let me move that and show you this. Here it is. This is the report that was tabled today regarding Dr. Andrew Wheatley. They had to be very careful with him because I'm hearing from very reliable sources that he's not happy with this. That's what I'm hearing, that he's not happy with this. And the feeling is that if he has to go down, he's not going down alone. This could be, not saying it is, this could be a very seminal moment. Remarkable moment in Jamaica's history as far as corruption is concerned. If it's true that, and of course, under a democratic system of government, you have to ascribe innocence to him. You have to say he's innocent. You may have a ton of evidence, but they say, you have to bring it to a court of law, not the court of public opinion. There are two courts. There's a court of law and there's a court of public opinion. But they said you have to bring the evidence before a court of law and then try and find him guilty, because up to the point that he's found guilty, he's deemed as being innocent. I know it's tough for some of us to understand that principle, because if you catch the person with their hand in a cookie jar and you say, yes, I catch a person, we have the person on videotape, we saw it, you still have to say innocent until proven guilty. I know it's tough for some people because you're like, where's the innocence? There is no innocence there. We caught him red-handed, or we caught her red-handed. So, in discussing this, so my sister here join way. I don't always sister, and I don't want to take, because I don't want someone to go kill me now. So, Sister Maria, welcome.
My brother.
Yes.
I and I'm on forward on a different scene.
Yeah.
I and I'm on Caliweed. I and I'm on tea.
We know say it well dread out there, right?
Hey, Rattigan, it's dreader than dread, colder than cold. Because I was to come on earlier, no, but I was so taken up with what was happening in the parliament. I'm like, am I real? Is this for real?
Yes.
It is real.
Yes. I got a phone call early this morning saying, hey, something big is going to happen today.
But before you continue, Rattigan, have you noticed this pattern that whenever anything major is going to come out, there's always something that comes out before that will kind of be like a distraction?
Right.
Because what came out yesterday, the leak in the newspaper yesterday, I said it, I think I was on Mystic, and I said, no, something is coming ahead of this. Something is coming after that. That everybody going to sit down and go, whoa. And here it is. It's like every week, something is, you just cannot catch a break with these people. Just can't catch a break.
Yeah. It's like I said, I got a phone call early this morning say, hey, something big is going to happen today, Parliament. And then shortly thereafter, somebody called and said, it's weekly. It's about weekly. And this was early this morning. And
are you surprised?
No, I'm not, because I was talking to some people. I was talking to some very close friends of his. There's one friend who's very, very, them like Ben Chambati. And I was the one who told him, he said, oh, I've been hearing some stuff. And I said, yeah, here's what's going on. And he said, I don't understand this because, they looked at this Petrojam thing. I said, how do you know it's Petrojam? I said, how do you know it's Petrojam? Could be anything else. And he said, well, Petrojam, they looked at all of those people and they let them go. I said, but did they look at him in Petrojam? And he said, no, they didn't look at him. And I said, so, there you have it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, we have Professor Kenny Thompson with us. So let me just move this. We're going to come back to this.
Yes.
Folks, we've been hearing all kinds of things about the economy. Oh, the economy is resilient and it's rebounding and it's great and it's that. We have heard everything but the truth concerning the economy. Every now and again, we'll find a nugget here or a nugget there coming out of the PIOJ or statin or PSOJ, but it's never the lightning ball. It's always a drizzle when they talk about it, right? And they try to make it seem like, look, there's not much to talk about here. There's not much to talk about here. We have everything under control. That's what they're trying to make it seem. But we know that's not true. So today we have with us Dr. Kenny Thompson. Turn on your camera from in a prof. He's here with us, and we're going to talk about, there he is. Prof, welcome. Long time no see.
Long time no see. Yes. Good evening. Good evening.
No,
Yes.
I'm
Good
looking at
evening, Professor Thompson.
I'm looking at
Good
all
evening,
of
my sister.
Jamaica, sis, and despite all of the trials and tribulations and all of the things going on in Jamaica, these people managed to maintain their youth. So it looked like you have to suffer for maintaining your youth. I don't know if
Okay. All right. Well, probably yes. Well, thank you for that.
But
Thank you for
Professor,
that.
we're here. And we're not suffering as much as the people in Jamaica. And we are aged like it got to start. Maybe it's the food. I don't know. But good to have you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Listen.
Yes.
You may know that there is you do know that there is a diaspora conference going on in Montego Bay, and it started on Sunday.
Yes.
And they have it every 2 years. And we're seeing a trend where every time they have it, it's always about finance and money matters, investments and this and that. It's never about the issues affecting the ordinary Jamaican in Jamaica, it's affecting the Jamaican living in the diaspora. Now, the diaspora policy put up by the government says there are two reasons why we exist: the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council and the policy and the terms of reference. And you can find this in both documents, the terms of reference and the policy. They say we exist for two reasons. One, to ensure that you in the diaspora, you prosper. We, the government and the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, are going to make sure that you prosper in the country. And it's not just you. They said you and your descendants. Wherever you live overseas, we're going to make sure that you prosper. And then, number two, we are going to leverage that prosperity for Jamaica's national development. Despite the many pages and the flowing words, these are the two things you must pay attention to. And what we have covered, Professor, is that whenever they have these conferences, they don't discuss the issues affecting the Jamaican, particularly those living in the diaspora. We know of diaspora members sleeping in their vehicles because they have no homeless problem. We have people in shelters. We have people who have mental problems. We have people who are physically ill and they don't know to access the social services. We have people with landlord-tenant problem. We have people with immigration problem. We have people with a host of problems and they have nowhere to turn. We just had a young lady, a bright young lady on. She's maintaining a 4.0 grade point average in school in America, and she's looking for a little assistance to help, a little financial. She's here on a scholarship, but she still needs a little financial assistance to tide her over, and she can't go to the embassy. There is no Global Jamaica Diaspora Council rep that she can go to and say, "Look, help me, please." Nobody. You know who's doing the help? Individual diaspora members and groups. They're the ones doing it. And so we hear constantly from the junior minister, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and
Mr. Steve Wright.
No, Terry Long.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we hear from him all the time. And what does he say? He says, look, Jamaica, the economy is doing great. And in fact, he said on numerous occasions, we pretty soon we're going to have to tell you guys in the diaspora, don't send in the money because we have everything covered down here. And I made a joke saying I'm going to call my sister and my cousins and tell them, say, listen, I need to send some money, come give me, because based on what I'm hearing, I don't need anything down there. I don't need anything. So that will take us up now to what exactly, just an open-ended question. Give us your take on what the economy is like in Jamaica at this moment.
All right. There's a lot in what you have said to be unpacked, and I'll try to take them in slices and maybe connect them towards the middle of my response. So I think one of the first areas at which to look in understanding or interpreting the real state of the economy is a disclosure earlier this week or last week maybe from the Minister of State in the Ministry of Finance, in which he said that the government does not have the capacity, doesn't have the resources to to fund education by itself.
Wow.
Now, that is significant for a host of reasons, but I'll just mention three. One, it is being made in a context in which there is the claim of a spectacular recovery post Melissa. Secondly, it is being made in the context of an assertion about the effective management of the economy. And thirdly, it is a dramatic repudiation and departure from what the government was saying for the last 10 years, which is that it is capable of funding education. In fact, in 2016, there was a policy that was being promoted by then Minister Royal Reid, around about 2010. I don't recall that he was the first Minister of Education following the 2016 election, but certainly by the time he became minister, there was a policy he was pushing called the parental mandatory non-contribution policy. Mandatory non-contribution. The effect of that policy was to say that the schools ought not and may not demand of parents, ask of parents to pay what was called the cost sharing fee, right? And so the ministry was mandating that schools cannot, or the ministry was stipulating that schools cannot mandate parents to pay. Parents who wished to pay, the policy said, may do so voluntarily, but they had no obligation to pay. And this was because the government took the view that it has enough resources to fund education. Principals were being told that all they need to do is ask. The money is there. All they need to do is ask. So let me do so I'm saying then that one indicator of the state of the economy is the position articulated by the government concerning its capacity to fund education. Let me hasten to add that one can, might I say, respect and applaud the aspirations of the government as those aspirations were somewhat articulated then, to be the lead funder and to take on the whole hog, so to speak, of funding education. But one has to wonder about the kinds of analysis that would have been done to inform that position, and whether that position was made in a context of a comprehensive economic analysis or was being driven by other forces. So the first answer I want to give to your question is that look at what is happening now with education and make a judgment as to whether the economy is doing as well as we would want it to be. Let me make another quick concession that the Hurricane Melissa would have done and has done substantial damage to South Central and Western Jamaica, more Western than South Central. Catastrophic beyond measure. And the consequences we have experienced in terms of the slowdown of the economy, the negative growth following the COVID negative growth, that those realities would have devastating impacts on the economy, and the shrinkage of the economy is there to see. If I were to counsel the government on communication, one of the things I would urge the government not to do is to argue that we have recovered. Because I have visited, might I say, the disaster zone. In my first attempt, I had to turn back because the traffic between Mandeville, from which I was coming, and Holland Bamboo was so slow. Once I got to Santa Cruz, I think between Santa Cruz and Holland Bamboo, it was like 2 hours.
Wow.
I had to turn back because I would be getting to Savlamar in the night and would be returning in the night. A couple of days later, when I was able to go further, and in subsequent trips into Black River and into the hinterlands of Carmel and Darlington and Beeston Spring, and then further into Savlamar and all the road along there, it was mind-boggling. I saw recently, I went back into beyond Newmarket and into the Westmoreland area. People are still, many homes, as is the case with that area, in Carmel, Darlington, in areas of approaching Newmarket, in Black River, in the South Sea Park, that upper class community heading into White House. Many homes are still roofless. And I know many of the homes are owned by retired civil servants, retired school principals and teachers, are still roofless. There was a telling tale in the Gleaner the other day about an elderly couple from St. Elizabeth who has been brought by one of their children to St. Catherine, where they live, and they occupy a little room at the back of their house and they spend most of the time on the veranda listening to the news. They receive $6,000 every 2 months for a path, but do not qualify for any other benefit. Their home remains in the state it was after Melissa passed. And there are many stories like that. So if I were to offer a counsel to the government, it would be to say, don't use the language that we have recovered, because to say that is to marginalize those people whose lives remain in the same level of devastation and destruction as it was on October 30, 2 days after the hurricane last year. It's painful. It feels like there is a kind of insensitivity and tone deafness to the pain that people are feeling. So I would say that the language you don't want to use as government is that we are doing our best. It will take some time, but do not dismiss the pain of others in the way that the narrative of we have recovered spectacularly communicates. Mm-hmm. So to wrap up my answer, so what's the state of the economy? Look at the policy decision refurbished now and rearticulated, perhaps the disclosure, perhaps you may call it the concession made in relation to education. Mm-hmm. And secondly, look at the reality on the ground in respect of the challenges that many victims continue to face after the hurricane. A strong economy would not produce those realities. Now, let me again underline that by saying, I'm not saying that the government could have fixed all the problems and all the destruction that came from Hurricane Melissa. what I'm saying is that to say that we are on our way and we have recovered makes almost dismisses the pain of those people.
Sis.
Thank you for that, Professor Thompson. But I have a few questions for you with regard to education, healthcare, social infrastructure, and its impact on the economy, how that impacts the economy. But before I get to that, one of the major problems, one of the major reasons why Melissa was so devastating to Jamaica is because of the poor infrastructure. And the government through the years has not been spending its capital budget. I think they spend a percentage of it. I don't even think half of their capital budget is spent. Now, if majority of the capital budget was spent on infrastructure in these areas that they know are prone to natural weather conditions, hurricanes specifically, wouldn't it not have been less destructive if that was done in terms of the bridges, the cleaning of drains, the training of waterways when they fix roads, that sort of thing? That is one question, and then I go to the other one.
Okay. So firstly, Melissa, from the evidence that we saw, was more about wind damage than it was about water damage. It is true that water remained on the ground in certain areas for a long time, and parts of Newmarket and other places, and parts of Beeston Spring, and other would have had a lot of water sitting there. But most of the damage that came from the wind with Melissa, and therefore whilst it is the case that more could have been spent and more could have been done to manage drains and to waterways, those would not have prevented the removal, the tearing off of these hundreds of roofs. And these are, we're talking here about schools, which are government property, and private homes, all right? And these many, and given the ferocity of the wind, even schools that had, whether it was Middle Quarters Primary or St. Elizabeth Technical or Manchester High, these buildings had relatively good roofs, and but at 285 miles per hour, it would move anything in its way. So I would give the government, I wouldn't give the government a strong criticism concerning the fact that there was so much damage to property because of the wind. And so I don't think that the capital budget would be an issue in this case. And those roofs that came off of public properties, some of them, like post office, were because they might have been, they might have survived if they had been replaced and so on, but even roofs that were in good condition were destroyed. So I would not give the government a rap over the question of the roof situation.
Okay. The other thing is
relative to capital budget, yes.
Right. Okay. Now, prior to, what was the health of the economy prior to Beryl and Melissa? Was the economy growing, recovering? What was the overall health of the economy prior to that?
So remember then that with COVID in 2020, the impact of COVID really began in the 2020-2021 fiscal year, because COVID came ashore in March of 2020. The new year started in April. So April 2020 to March 2021 and April 21 to 2022 were the years that were most adversely affected by the COVID shrinkage. the economy would have shrunken about 10% across those 2 years. We began to see a recovery in the 22 to 23 22 to 23 year. My perspectives on those periods of recovery are known to some. I would have been urging the government to not talk about growth, but to talk about recovering. So those 3 and 4% quarterly improvements coming from the loss of COVID was really bringing us back to where we were. And it wasn't until I think the last quarter, don't quote me exactly, the last quarter of 2024 that we returned to pre-COVID levels. But here is what is essential, and to your question. For the previous 10 years prior to COVID, the economy was growing at most quarters. The economy grew by less than 1%.
Right.
And so, and the reality we're now seeing is similar, where once we had returned to pre-COVID levels, which in a sense, Wilfred, represents maybe the lid that the economy has, the structural impediments that affect the economy kind of hold growth at a particular level, hold GDP at a particular level. Our GDP has been hovering in this $15 to $16 billion range for a while, eh? So we kind of we were able to recover to that place. But since we've gotten back there, we have gone back to the growth levels pre-COVID, 1% in a good quarter, 1.5% in a great quarter, comparatively speaking. But average, but when you look at it, when it's stretched out over time, you would see that we haven't been growing, and that is really where the challenge is. And let me show you what this this minimal growth means. Although we have record low unemployment, and my own sociological and social theory critique of this unemployment situation is known. Employment in Jamaica is defined as being engaged for at least 1 hour during the 3-week period in which the survey is being done. And that 1 hour of work could be sweeping the street, painting the sidewalk, collecting garbage, babysitting, running errands, activities which, though helpful, are not contributing to growth in the economy. So although we have this significant this significant reduction or this record unemployment, we haven't seen any appreciable movement in our production and our productivity, because the jobs we are creating, as the PIOJ itself has said, and Satna has said, are what you call entry-level, low-skill jobs. At the same time, whilst we are seeing this low unemployment, and I've written on it recently, an article, Getting Behind the Numbers, 3/4 of the workforce, 700,000, not 3/4, sorry, 1/4, pardon me, correct myself. Well, sorry, actually it's 3/4, because it's about a third actually. The workforce, we have a population of about 3 million. The workforce is about, I think the figure is 1.4 million, right? So we're talking about half of the workforce. People say that they're not available for work. Let me restate those numbers for completeness and correctness. We have a population of roughly 3 million, 2.8 million or thereabouts, all right? We have an adult workforce of about 2.1 million, right? we have an employed workforce of about 1.4 million, 1.3 and change, which is 2/3 of that 2.1. The other 1/3, that 700,000, are people saying that whenever the surveys are done, they have not sought work, and they're not working, and they're not interested in work. So when we arrive at that 3.4% unemployment, it excludes this 1/3 of the workforce who say they have no interest in work. Last point, whilst we have this bulge of people who are not interested in work, we have an increasing number, a plethora of car marts being opened across the country, not selling as like when I was a boy, old Lada and Escort and other low-end vehicles, Mazda and everything. We're talking about car marts selling high-end vehicles, and the density of motor vehicles on the road with these high vehicles is just gridlock. So contrast those. 1/3 of the workforce said they're not interested in work. Low unemployment, non-growth in GDP, and high-end vehicles. They're pushing down hillsides, filling up valleys, taking over sidewalks to create car marts. That's the economy at which we're looking.
So who's buying these cars, these high-end cars, and where are they getting the money from?
That is the question. That is the question. And it is a matter about which I have been exercised morally and socially in various spaces, whether it is in speeches I give at wherever or on social media. I'm saying to the police and to the government, how do we explain this?
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing about this? What are the tools required to address this? I mean, I may be wrong, but I might be in a parking lot somewhere, in a plaza somewhere, or at an ATM, and I see some youngsters, no more than 18 or 19 years old, in their 20s, some of them, dressed in a manner that obviously says they are not in any formal work, come out of the ATM, them trousers drop off of them, and then jump into a high-end vehicle and drive off. I wonder, where is this money coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, and I've raised this matter with the police high command, and don't you have the tools to investigate these things, to inquire? So, I mean, the probable cause facilitation, because if you see me, if I have a bag walking on the road with a bag in my hand, I can be stopped by the police and a search conducted on probable cause. So they see this guy who is no more than 19 look apart. I mean, what them look like him uptown or downtown, whatever. But this youngster driving this BMW or this Mercedes Benz or this whatever kind of vehicle, you can't ask the questions. Beats me.
Right. Yeah. But before I move, my last question to you has to do with the economy and its dependence on its independence and interdependence on education, healthcare, and social infrastructure. And there's that interconnectedness there, because there's a report that says 30,000 students sat the external exams, 6,000 passed. And then there was the president of, I think was University of Technology.
6,000 would have passed, five or more.
5 or more, correct. And I think it was the president of University of Technology. He alone can absorb all of that. And there are not many students who are qualifying for tertiary education. Now, on the face of this, when you look at it short term, people might say, it can change in a year. But there is a short, medium, and long-term impact of all of this. Because it is not just about now, because the students who go into the tertiary institutions now will have 4 or 5 years of studies, correct? Now, if you don't have that for this school year and for those 5 years, will that not create a gap? And how will that deficit in our education system, in our healthcare, and in our social programs where you have skills training and vocational training, how will that further impact the economy?
Sure. I want to say that this issue, the issue of the performance of our students in the high school exit exams and their inability to qualify for and matriculate to tertiary level is an existential crisis of mammoth proportions. And I try to restrain myself from using too many superlatives or too many emotional terms, even though I might become emotional in my expressions. But it's of mammoth proportions, and to the point you're raising. So let's illustrate. Part of the reason we have a virtually, might I say, unmoved level of GDP, it's because most of our high school graduates qualify for jobs which are maintenance related, low-end, low skill, which are not, and therefore are not contributing to economic growth. So on average in Jamaica, less than 3, and the data are just compelling, less than 3 out of every 10 students who leaves the secondary system qualifies to and goes on to high school, right? It is not surprising, therefore, that in the entire workforce itself, the figure is the same. Less than 30% of our workforce is tertiary trained. What does that mean? Take any country in Asia, in Oceania, in Europe. Their numbers are between 50% and 90%. In Singapore, for example, 9 out of every high school student goes on to tertiary education. In New Zealand, it is almost 89%. All right. In Japan, it is 70%. What is the GDP of those countries? Jamaica's GDP has hovered around $6,000 for the last 30 years. The GDP of Barbados is 4 times that. And Barbados has 6 out of its 10 students going on to high school. The GDP of Switzerland is, what is it, Rattigan? Perhaps about $100,000 by now.
Probably than that.
And these countries have high innovation indices, developing apps and other solutions. What this means for health is that with the minimum wage or near minimum wage that many of our nationals or citizens earn, they are unable to provide themselves with proper nutrition. So that they become vulnerable to chronic diseases because they eat a lot of bread and oil-based foods. They don't eat healthily. So they become susceptible to chronic diseases. They also are unable to provide themselves with the resources to create proper housing. So they live in shacks and other incomplete houses on gully banks and elsewhere. And when there's natural disaster, they lose the little they have, and they become dependent on the state. They are unable to send their children to school, and therefore their children the underperformance of their children perpetuate the problems of an economy that is stagnant, because their children also do not do well. There are also other risks, social risks, because of their dependence on others and on the state. The youngsters become easy pickings, easy conscripts for criminal activity, either led by the dons and others in the community or initiated by themselves. And the overarching problem, if you will, is that the state is forced to become a welfare state. And then you have the politicization of welfare that enters the picture, and how that is used to advance various political agendas and so on. What it means ultimately is that we will remain dependent on external support, and will become vulnerable in negotiations about how our resources may be accessed in the geopolitical arena, where those resources may serve the interests of certain political players, given our geographical position within the Caribbean. We become vulnerable. Our negotiating stance is weakened, and we are dictated to. And that puts the economy at risk, that puts our citizens at risk.
I mean, Professor, you see a number of things that I want to address. One of the things that I need to make abundantly clear to some of our listeners, and I've been getting text messages, is that I think there's a misunderstanding. They're not listening. Some of them are not listening to you carefully, because when you talk about the unemployment rate or the employment rate, I guess some of them didn't hear when you said that the way they count unemployment in Jamaica or employment in Jamaica is this. If during that quarter, that reference week when they come, which is the first week of the period, if you say if you've worked for 1 hour during that reference week, they consider you fully employed for the entire 3 months, even though they won't see you for the entire 3 months. And so you're counted in there as employed. I don't think some people heard that. So they're saying, well, how can the professor say that unemployment is at record low when we know that's not true based on observation? Because when we go to Jamaica, people all over on the corner, rubbing on them hand. I want to play a video, and I've been saying this for quite some time, and the government continues to spew the lie that they have record unemployment in Jamaica. And I've been saying to people, listen to Statin. Statin is a clearinghouse for statistics for the government of Jamaica, not for the JLP, but for the government of Jamaica, any government. And that in I think it was January 2024, January 2025, that they said they employed a new methodology employment. And the people that you were referring to, that, for example, they say the old method of counting was if you're of working age and you're not working, consider you unemployed. Now they say you must be of working age, you must not be working, and in order to be considered unemployment, there's a third factor, and that is you must be actively looking for work. If you have given up, if you say, okay, you're considered available for work, but not unemployed. Let me show you this video here.
We as a country start to track unemployment numbers?
So we've been tracking the unemployment numbers for several years, since the 1968, sorry. So we've been tracking unemployment for several decades.
Since 68.
We've always been guided by the
Did you say
recommendation.
68? 1968 or
Yes,
before?
1968, sorry.
Okay, that's 77. That's what? 67 years. No, less than that.
Almost 70 years.
32 and 25. 57 years. 57 years. Yeah, since we've started to track. And these are the lowest numbers we have recorded.
So, as was said in your article right before you came over to us, this is a new time series, and it's not comparable with the previous time series because the way that unemployment is being measured has changed. So it's not strictly comparable in that regard. Therefore, we have to take a deeper dive and look at what is happening currently in the labor market based on this current set of figures. So if you look at the number of persons, the employment to population ratio, for example, that tells you what percentage of the persons 15 years and older who are employed, and that's like 65.7%. If you look at the participation rate of persons 15 years and older, that's 68%. That's looking at 2 out of every 3 persons being in the labor force. Those are the metrics that we can speak to. But because this is a brand new time series that started in January this year, I wouldn't speak to looking at this as a record low.
Before we get to Wayne Chen, just for the listeners to understand, Mr. Latibadir, explain to us the updating that happened in the model.
All right. So it's not a model. It is a methodological framework for measuring. So in 2013, the International Labour Organization produced some recommendations on how we should update measuring unemployment in an economy. And we have adapted those measures in January of 2024. So what we have now is a slightly narrower definition of who is employed. So persons who are engaged only in subsistence work are no longer included in the number of persons employed. But also, when you talk about those who are unemployed, it's a much stricter definition. So before January 2024, you'd be counted among the unemployed if you are without work and if you are available or seeking, so either or. With this new recommendation from the ILO, you have to be without work, but you have to be both available and actively looking for a job. So that is a narrower definition of persons who are considered to be unemployed. Therefore, it's not comparable with the time series from before.
That I've been trying to tell people that, so that you cannot compare them. What the government can say now is that the unemployment rate is the lowest it's been since January of 2024. But they cannot say this is the lowest it's ever been in our history, because they're using, I should say, a different methodology, a different time series, and you can't compare them. Because before, as I said, if you were unemployed and not looking for a job, you were counted as unemployed. Now, if you're not working and you're not looking for a job, you're not counted as unemployed. And therein lies the rub. And they won't tell the people this. They keep coming out with this nonsense saying it's the lowest in history. And that's one problem. Here's another problem. They tell people that the GDP to debt ratio, Jamaica is crunching it and we're making great headway. It was 144 somewhere up there, and now it's down to like in the 70s or going to the 60s. And I say to people, when you hear these arguments, ask yourself or ask them, what does this mean for the ordinary person? What does this mean for Master Joe who raised hog? What does this mean for the informal, the person of involved in informal trade? What does GDP to debt mean to them? Here's why people have to pay careful attention. Look at this. This is a GDP, they're ranking debt to GDP ratio, right? Look at some of the countries who have some. Jamaica is about 70 now or somewhere around there. Look at this. Japan in 2024 was 237. Jamaica is 70. Would you consider Jamaica a better run country than Japan? No. Look at Singapore. Hold on, I can't make it any bigger, but Kevin not there. And you can see Singapore right there. Wait, see Singapore at the top there, right here in blue. You can see this 173%. Look at this. Italy, we not count Italy, but Bahrain. I've been to Bahrain many times. You will never compare Jamaica to Bahrain economically. Look at Bahrain, 134%. Look at the United States. Here it is right here. Look at France. United States is 124. Look at France, 130. Look at Canada. And these are places where Jamaicans want to leave Jamaica to go to make a better life. And yet, their GDP or debt to GDP ratio way higher than Jamaica. Look at Belgium, Cape Verde. Look at Belgium, 104. Spain, 102. Look at the United Kingdom. People, and these are countries that are providing aid to Jamaica. United Kingdom, 93. Look at China, 88. It's right here, 88. Who else is on there? Finland, 82. Austria, 81. Bahamas, 81. Look at one of my favorite countries, South Africa, 76. And the beat goes on. So I tell people, when they tell you this in a vacuum, and they just say, yes, our GDP is low, going down, and it means we're going to have more money and we can spend more money and invest in people. Poppycock. Nonsense. BS. It doesn't add up, my people. So, Prof, I want you to comment on the argument that the government is making, has made about the debt to GDP ratio and this unemployment, these fallacious arguments. The arguments don't make any sense at all.
Right. I think what the data are showing, when you take countries like Japan and the US and others which have ratios in excess of 100%, what it proves is that a low debt obligation, as in our case, in and of itself and by itself does not indicate a strong economy. Right?
Prof, can I stop you right there? There's a third document I need to show you. And this goes to the heart of why the debt to GDP or GBP to debt ratio, why it doesn't make any sense. Look at this. With our 76%, our 72 or whatever, they say it's going down to 60. Look at this document. This is the report from last year. Of course, I can't give it to you for this year because, we're in the middle of the year. But look at this. You see all of the countries I was talking about? What do they all have in common? They manufacture things. They sell things. Some of them have a surplus. What does Jamaica manufacture? Look at this. There is a deficit. Look, Jamaica imported last year 7.5 billion. And Jamaica exported 1.6 billion. How on God's green earth are you going to make this math add up? That you don't manufacture anything, you import all of the stuff that you do. And so what that means is that you're cutting social services, you're cutting programs that should be there to help poor people. You're cutting that to bring down because the GDP to that, all it means is that the government is paying its bills. That's all it means. And they're doing it aggressively. But at what expense? And who is suffering? Look at this. There it is right there. Look, it's even more stark when you look at this. Jamaica imported look at consumer goods, 2.1 billion. Fuels and lubricant, 1.7. Capital goods, 797. Transport equipment. Look at look on the right-hand side now, what we export. We export manufacturing goods. And by the way, when they say manufacturing goods, a lot of them, there is a term they use for it. It's not goods that are actually manufactured in Jamaica. It's goods that are assembled in Jamaica and sent on But the raw material came from somewhere else. And so what they do is they just put it, like you'd have a belt from one country and the belt buckle from another country, and then send them to Jamaica, and then just add the belt buckle to the belt and then move it on as a finished product. That's it. Look at mining and quarry. Look at agriculture. And look at other domestic. Then look at the trade deficit right here. Look at this. Look at the trade deficit. We import 2.8 billion from the US, and we only send 667 million. Look at China. Look at China. We don't even do business with China. China is not one of our top 5 to export trading partners. It is one of our import trading partners. That's why you see so much Chinese products all over the place. But ask yourself, how many Jamaican products go into China? Not in the top 5. Not in the top 5. So,
yes, this is pretty instructive. I'll make 2 other points in support of what you're saying. That someone some time ago, I think it was former Prime Minister Bruce Golding, don't recall the context in which he was speaking. He said that a beggar probably owes nothing.
there you go.
Yes.
There
So
you go.
not owing is, and I suppose if you move up the chain.
I forgot that down. I forgot that down. I bet I owes nothing. I forgot that.
If you move up the chain, your household helper probably does not have a car loan, a mortgage, an unsecured loan for education, does not have a loan for opening a shop. So her debt is very low relative. So the question really about your debt is the volume of goods and services that you're producing that would enable you to pay your debt and to have surplus. And the second question is whether with a declining debt to GDP, what are you doing? So we were at 147 in 2013. We're less than half of that now at no, quite less than half. Yes, less than half, because we're now we're now south of 70, and I think the target is to reach 60 in the I think it's 62% now actually, but we're in the 6s range. The question is whether the overall condition of life in Jamaica has improved commensurate with that 80 percentage point reduction that we have seen in the last 10 or so years. And that has not is a starting point for questions. Why have we not seen improvements in our schools, the resources allocated to our schools? I mean, to come back to my first point, if our debt to GDP has fallen to 60-something% in the last 10, I mean, compared to where it was in the last 10 years, why is it that we are saying we can't fund our schools adequately by ourselves? And so therein lies the contradiction, and it really requires a deep discussion as to what advantages have we yielded for ourselves as a result of this substantial reduction in our debt to GDP.
Let me just say one quick thing before I bring you on. Let me just put this back up on the screen. People, whether we like it or not, the US government is our top trading partner. So I hope this will resonate with you. Whenever you hear that Jamaica is doing something at the behest, at the request, in collaboration with, in cooperation with whatever the US, I want you to look at, you see where it said top 5 import trading partners? I want you to look at the number 1 trading partner. And then I want to go to the right side. And it's where it says total export trading partners. I want you to look at that and tell me if you don't see the US as the top trading partner and the top export trading partner. You know what that means? Influence. It means when we hear the music, you better dance. Because if we start cutting, where you going to sell all of these things? And remember, to sell something in the US, it's going to be cheaper than you have to sell it somewhere to Europe because of transportation costs and the volume as well. And if you're talking about products that the diaspora would be interested in, no place than the US. The US has more diaspora members than everywhere else combined. So I just want all of you, because now we're talking about the news of the day is about the TCN, the third country nationals, where America, and like I said, good or bad, I want you to just focus on that and think about it. If you were the United States and you have this much economic power over small Jamaica, would you allow Jamaica to tell you no to anything you want Jamaica to do? You want to do? If you say, look, I want to send my Nimitz in your port, you think Jamaica is going to tell you no? Or better yet, do you think this government is going to tell you no? Maybe another government would tell you no. I know of another government who would say no, but this government is definitely not going to say no. I yield.
Yes, just sitting and listening to Professor Canute Thompson, I could do this all day, all night into next week, because the information is so necessary. And what boggles my mind is that too many persons say they don't know, yet they have the same devices. Their lives are in the palm of their hands. TikTok and YouTube. And I have nothing against people doing TikTok, but the same device that they're using to do TikTok is the same device that can edify and educate them while entertaining them. But going back to the unemployment numbers, about it being the lowest unemployment in the history of the country, really, since they've been keeping figures. How do you explain the lowest unemployment, yet the highest poverty rate?
Yeah, it's one of another of those contradictions. Let's bear in mind that there has been talk recently about moving from a minimum wage to a livable wage. And when you consider that, I think the minimum wage is currently now $16,000 per week, or it might have
or 17. I think it went up to 17.
It was moved.
Yes, 17.
It
Yes,
was by $1,000, $17,000 per week. What it takes to feed a family of 3, mother and her 2 children. God help her if she has her mother with her or her aging father who is living off the same small income. It takes reasonably some on a minimal diet. It takes at least $30,000 per week to feed those 4 people. And so you have to ask, if she's earning $17,000, how does she supplement? Where does she get help from for the other $13,000? And because that $17,000 can go nowhere near meeting those needs, they go hungry. The children miss school because there's no transport. They go to school hungry. She goes to work hungry. Only hope her employer provides her with lunch at no cost. The old man sits at home. He may have 1 meal for the day. He has 2 crackers, and whatever pack of crackers is bought on the weekend will run out by Tuesday. So by Wednesday, all he has, there might even be sugar in the house, but he can boil some water on an outside stove or outside fire and puts 2 orange leaf or 2 other bush leaf in it. And then, the dinner, which he eats maybe at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, is his only meal. So they are dependent. So a study was done by the And I must say that the most recent poverty numbers I don't have. There was a delay in their disclosure, but the data that I have up to last year on poverty was the 2022 data,
Yeah.
which showed that there was a 50% increase in poverty. All right. Now, it would be interesting to see what those figures are showing since. But I mean, it is left for you and your listeners to infer and to opine on the delay in the release of the latest figures. You should not be laughing, Mr. Rattigan.
Yeah, but Professor Thompson, it is not
yes.
possible to have you in this space and not talk about the impact of corruption on the GDP, how corruption is eating. Oh, I mean, the country is strapped for cash. Well, right now they're flushed with cash because of, the suspension of the fiscal rules and all of that, and how much money they're able to borrow. I don't know how much money they're going to draw down. But outside of that, every year, billions of dollars lost to corruption. Now imagine if some of that was cut in half and put into education, invested into healthcare, what would happen? So speak on the impact of corruption and the GDP, the Jamaican economy, and the wider society.
Yes. I've been saying in recent months, maybe, that one of the disciplines I have to exercise as a citizen, as a person, as a thinker, is that of exercising tolerance and patience with the things around me that are not in a manner that I believe they can be and should be. And as you might know, I have written extensively on these issues, including corruption, and have become somewhat wary by the journey of how, despite the evidence that overflows in front of us, so little changes,
Right.
But our GDP in Jamaican dollars measurement is about $2 trillion. That's our GDP. And 5% of that, which is what corruption is assessed to suck out, to absorb, 5% of that is $100 billion. $100 billion. The budget for the Ministry of National Security, last time I looked at these numbers closely, the budget for the Ministry of National Security is about $112 billion. There are several ministries whose budgets are under $100 billion. So what could $100 billion do? Let me go another direction. The budget for the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies, the budget presented for running the university for a year, for the campus for a year, is under $20 billion. Under $20 billion. The entire education sector, which is the single largest, which gets the single largest share of the budget, second to debt servicing, when I ran those numbers, was just over $100 billion. To run a school for a year, a school of say 1,000 students, assuming that that school were fully financed at what it takes to run a school, which would be about $65,000 per student. $65,000 per student. Multiply that by 100, we're looking at $6.6 billion. That $100 billion then could run 20 schools fully and effectively.
Right.
To patch a kilometer of road, or to repair a kilometer of road at a reasonable price, a kilometer is about $200 million. When it's elevated and escalated and marked up and overpriced to serve the needs of others, it's more than that. But a reasonable price is about $200 million. How many kilometers of road could that $100 billion restore? Did I mention the Minister of Health, which has a budget also of just over $100 billion? Remember that the budget for the country is just about $1 trillion, $1.1 trillion, 1.2 trillion. And when you divide up that 1.2 trillion among the various ministers and agencies, each is getting a little bit over $1 billion and under $1 billion. So really, you could release into the economy substantial amount of money to address major problems by dealing with corruption. But the question we must ask is, who are the beneficiaries of the corrupt practices that are present in our society? Who benefits? I tell you this as I close this point, that there is the culture of corruption is endemic, and there are many people who will say they are cool with it because they get for them cut. You know, and in that we have a problem, because what it means is that the beneficiaries extend far and wide.
Yes. And it permeates every agency, every ministry. I mean, from the top down. It doesn't matter what part of the country you are.
Yes.
Every place is affected.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Rattigan.
I was gonna ask Prof. Give us. I know you said you've written extensively on the subject to the point where. I'm just paraphrasing what you said, to the point where you're almost like jaded. You didn't use the word, but almost jaded, because you've written so many articles. And somehow it's not catching hold, at least on a segments of the population, or people of influence who can say, you know what, yes, this makes sense. Let's look at this in a, let's look at this in a holistic way. Let's look at this in a way in terms of trying to reduce. You can't eliminate corruption. You can't. But at least reduce it to the point where we can benefit from the savings that we would make. Health, whatever. What's, in terms of a solution, now you're talking to the diaspora and they're hearing this. And a lot of these people, they want to come home. And they're hearing this. What's the next step?
All right. So I would say there are probably 4 strategies that could be used to address this problem of corruption. I think there might be several, but there are run about 4 about which I've often spoken. The first, and you might recall, well, maybe you don't recall, one of the first is really cultural orientation and socialization. One of the entities that I had established, the Caribbean Leadership Reimagination Initiative. One of the things we're seeking to do is to build what I call psychological resistance to corruption from as early as at the primary and secondary level of schooling, to help youngsters to appreciate that corruption hurts. Corruption does not sustainably deliver to them benefits, even if they are short-term and immediate, right? So it is the socialization. Allied to that, alongside that, we develop a program for the same level of socialization of early entrance into the public service in particular, but early entrance into work. And that you would select from among these what we call anti-corruption champions, whose name would not be anti-corruption champions, but more ethical leaders who would talk about a number of various value systems and be exposed to certain training and so on. Actually, the NIA, the National Integrity Action, had a similar program of training integrity champions, right? So that's the first one, the socialization, the orientation, because sustainable change really comes from within. The second is what I call the consequence mapping, that where people deviate, there should be firm consequences if previous attempts at correction don't work. So I remain a big, but less, might I say, on the front lines, advocate and supporter. Still am substantially and philosophically, but perhaps less vocal these days, supporting the work of the Integrity Commission. Fought with much of my energy to remove the gag clause and to strengthen the infrastructure and operations of the Integrity Commission as a tool for exposing and for imposing consequences, exposing behavior and imposing consequences. The third is where the diaspora comes in, and in both areas, I have argued for a constitutional arrangement which would have which would see members of the diaspora being able to vote, members of the diaspora being able to run for what is called in some jurisdictions at-large seats. So these are seats that are not connected to a physical constituency, but within the House of Representatives, there are these 5 spaces for members of the diaspora, and the mechanisms for how the voting would take place. The persons could be they would be voted. Those spaces would be voted alongside. So a voter could have 2 votes functionally. They could vote for what you call their geographical MP, the constitution MP, the constituency MP, and they could vote secondly for a diaspora at-large person, right? And what that would mean, what among the things that would have, is that you could have persons whose exposure to a different political arrangement, their elevated worldview, their perspectives on governance, you have them in the parliament to contribute to the discussions around governance in a way that would help to widen and broaden and deepen the debate. But you would also have as a third mechanism. No, I think that's three. So I talk about the training of youngsters, the training of new entrants. That's for the fourth, is that we would have a constitutional arrangement where any body who is able to amass 5,000 signatures could start a political party. And with that political party, with the evidence of 5,000 members minimum, they would be entitled to state funding to support their operations. What a plethora, or even if it's not a plethora, an increase in the number of viable political parties would do at a first instance, if a number of these smaller parties win seats and now matched by the diaspora votes, you would not have the two political parties having a stranglehold on the parliament, with the expectation that neither of them would win a majority of seats, but may win a substantial enough number. They would be forced to, in order to form the government, they would have to enter, what do you call it, alliances?
Coalition government.
Coalitions, thank you, coalitions with one or two of the other parties. And with that diffusing of the control and the distribution of the power, you could then bring leverage for certain standards to bear on the political process. All right, that's the fourth. The fifth is perhaps the most controversial. I believe that non-corrupt governments which fund our operations, for example, the British government gave, during a short period, gave £200 million to support the work of the Integrity Commission. And these governments fund various other activities. I believe that one of the things that the EU should do, the UK should do, they should demand certain changes and improvements in our operations and our governance arrangements as a condition for continued support and aid. In the same way, the said EU and UK and others were willing to withhold support from Jamaica in 2012 into 2013 because of the absence of an IMF agreement and an IMF supervisor arrangement. They withheld aid from Jamaica. I believe that in a similar way, they should be willing to hold back aid unless we meet certain practices. I tell you this as well. There are certain protocols and certain policy expectations, whether they relate to gender justice or sexual orientation justice or environmental practices. There are certain principles to which our ascription and our commitment must be demonstrated in order to get aid or to continue getting aid. I believe in a similar way, they should say, you have to deal with this problem of corruption before we can continue supporting this. Those are my 5.
All right. Sis, can't hear you.
Yes, I agree with you, Professor Thompson, on putting in some mechanism to hold them accountable. Don't give them funds until this happens, because if what is happening, because there's no accountability with regard to dealing with corruption, they are still lending money, they squander the money, they pay the debt, and they lend them more money, and the people are not getting help, and the system is worse off instead of being better off. But back to your socialization point, and education is important, but not only academic education, but street education. When we talk to one another, we have to edify each other about what is happening. And it leads me to, because the people are not socialized in the power of their votes, they will sell their votes for $5,000 and a 2-piece KFC. They will fight each other.
Well, the price has gone up, The price has gone up.
The price has gone up. Right. And they will fight. Yes, they will fight each other for that, right? For that. And they do not understand that the politician is the employee. They are the employer. And when they understand the power of the vote, they have the right to speak to these politicians and make them do what it is that benefits their constituents, where they live. But because they're not doing it, they're being taken for granted. So politicians can come every election cycle, say whatever it is they want, and get it, because everybody like, they give me a thing, no boss, that kind of mentality. And another thing that they can put pressure on the government for, because Andrew alluded to it in his 2016 manifesto. My brother Rattigan likes to play Andrew on his manifestos from 2016 and 2020. And he talked about impeachment and recall, but the people are so desensitized that they just accept corruption as the norm. Because let's look at the Naira bill. The Naira bill has now entrenched corruption, has normalized corruption. So I agree with you that there has to be a socialization.
I would be a little bit more nuanced than that. I would say it has the potential to.
Okay, potential to normalize corruption, right. So I agree with you that there has to be a socialization.
On the vigilance of citizens.
I'm sorry?
I'm saying the extent to which it does or does not depends on the vigilance of people like you and other citizens.
Exactly. You're right, and it goes to your point about the socialization of the people, educating them about their own rights, what is acceptable from what is not acceptable. Because when they allow the government to run amok, it's their lives that are at stake. They're the ones going to the broken hospitals. They're the parents whose children are not being able to go to schools that are conducive to learning. They're the ones driving on the roads that need fixing. So it affects them. So they have to understand that the politician is not the boss. They are the bosses. And so they can be a course correction in how they approach politics, because politics determines policies.
Here's a challenge with that. You're right, but here's a challenge with that. And in response to that challenge, I'm going to offer, and this is also documented in some of my publications, I'm going to offer a 6th solution. In 2020, we had a 37% voter turnout, the lowest in our history.
Yeah.
And we held our heads and said, boy, this COVID thing, the election should never have been called during COVID. Only 37%. In 2025, at the time the election was due, we had a very vibrant campaign and we had 38% turnout.
Right.
What that tells us is that almost 2/3 of the people don't have the time, the interest, the energy to vote. So one of the things I have proposed alongside the provision of stimulating the formation of multiple political parties, and with 5,000 signatures verified and verifiable, because these signatures would have to come with the person's national ID number or TRN number, so you couldn't have figment signatures, and there would have to be a rigorous vetting process. In addition to that, I've also proposed that we should have mandatory voting.
Yeah.
In the same way you must pay taxes, you must pay GCT, you must drive on the left side of the road in Jamaica. You should be required to vote as an expression of your national service and duty. And so to those who say, but I don't say either of them, JLP is not my party, I can't vote for PNP, and vice versa. PNP is not my party, I can't. That by having 6 or 7 other parties, you have a choice and you're required to vote. So with the requirement to vote and the increase in the number of political parties, you are successful now in reducing the stranglehold as one consequence, but more importantly, through public education, people would now be able to give more thought to what they're asking of their party. Now, when you're a member of a party which has 3 seats and 5,000 or 6,000 votes, you have greater access and influence because it's a smaller space. And think of those 2 political parties, these 2 small political parties, these small political parties, right? Each having 3 seats. That's 6 seats. And they become the kingmakers with the party that has 27 seats or 26 seats and needs 6 seats to form government. Those people who are members of those 2 parties have greater levels of intimacy and influence and can say to their leader, we require these things.
Yes.
So it's what you call the dispersion of influence and the distribution of power.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have people sitting in the parliament uncertified for years and nobody wants to say anything.
Well. Yes. Well, you'll have many things corrected with that as well. But I mean, and you will still have people who have been involved in illicit activities. But to your point, you could extend the scope of those who have a voice in calling for accountability.
Prof, there's one of our loyal supporters in the chat. She said, you're talking Rattigan language now, because this is something that I've said for quite some time now, and some people, they're uncomfortable with the idea. And I've said to them, listen, I said, and this came from a deep-seated place. It came from a place where I grew up in a neighborhood where we were instructed, we were influenced to look at people on the other side of the gully, people that we went to school with, people that we played with, in some instances our relatives, to look at them as the enemy. Them Waterhouse, right? And decades later, Prof, I ended up up in Stony Hills at some parties. And if me alive, me are dead, because I had witnesses there we come from Waterhouse like me. We went to the parties, and what did we see there? We saw members of both political parties fraternizing. And it was a shock to us because we said, I said, hold on. And the person who invited me, in her house, she had both members of, she was a staunch PNP. But she had LP in her house, and I couldn't understand it. And I go to her and say, what them people are doing in your house? Them people are not for there. And she said, no, and I said, it work up here, She said, you see what happened down so? Theatrics. We put on a show for people. But up here, people, them more civil. People up here, not more, people up here civil. Them said, she said, we go to the same church, we join the same social clubs, we know the same lodge, our kids go to the same school, and in some instances we're related.
Yes.
So she said,
yeah.
Because she told me, she said, just calm down, just enjoy.
Just calm down.
And it took a while because I tell you, it was a bitter pill to swallow.
Yes.
Bitter pill, because a lot of my friends died because of the political friction. A lot of my friends, there were places that I used to go and play football that I couldn't go again. The prime minister, I used to play football over at the prime minister's constituency, and after a while, I dare not go over there because I live in a PNP constituency. And just to get to the point, because I know you have to go. Here's the point.
Yes, I have to go in 4 minutes time.
Well, we don't have time. Okay. Let me just address one point. Let me just address one point. You mentioned something about the Integrity Commission, and you say you're fighting hard for the gag order, right?
For the removal of the
gag order. All right, take a look at this. Take a look at this. This is the investigation of FLA, right? And your attempt to remove the gag order is going to bump up against a policy that they have. And what is that policy? The policy says, even if we make adverse findings against you, if we're not going to prosecute you, we will invite you to come see us, and we will tell you about the investigation, and we will also invite you to make a submission. When you hear people say, when you hear like people ask a question like, how did FLA find out about investigation before it was tabled and so that them could run court? This is why. Here it is right here. And they did it with the Market Me case. Here's it right here. Let me make it.
As part of the...
There it is. Well, let me make it a little bit smaller. There it is. As part of the Commission's policy to share the findings and recommendations of the Director of Investigation with persons in respect of whom adverse findings are made during the course of an investigation. And it says, say for matters referred for prosecution, meaning that if we're not prosecuting you, but we made adverse findings against you, they said, it is our duty, it is our policy that we invite you. Here it is, to a meeting.
We share with you.
And recommendations were shared.
Yes, okay.
And look at this. There's the one with Market Me, Dunstan Bryan, the former permanent secretary. You know what he said in his response to them? He said, I want to thank the Integrity Commission for sharing their findings and investigation with me before sharing it with the public and the parliament. Before he said that. So the gag order that they're talking about, the gag order only works if they're going to prosecute you. If they're not going to prosecute you, they will tell you what they, and this is
no, well, okay, except that the gag order extends to that, beyond that. So what the gag order does is that the IC cannot, the Integrity Commission cannot make public that it has commenced an investigation against anyone, nor can it give updates concerning the progress of those investigations, and it can only make its findings known. It doesn't even have the authority to make its findings known. Its duty is to conduct its investigation and table that report in Parliament. Only after the report is tabled is a matter known publicly.
But in this case, they're talking about it before it's tabled.
Right. So I have an interest in wanting to understand a little bit more the genesis of this policy, as well as its purpose. I know that as a matter of might I say, the word is eluding me now. A newspaper, for example, if a newspaper has developed a story and you had done an interview for that story, and they're going to make an adverse comment about you, they, will advise you. You don't have a chance to, change the story. But I can't see why the IC would keep secret its intent, its decision to recommend prosecution, and you're learning of that when the report is tabled, versus disclosing to you its adverse findings, where I'm not seeing the logic of that.
There is no logic there,
policy.
Professor. And I tell you what, coming from the FBI culture, this is something that we would never do. Because you know why? If you have adverse findings against somebody, but not enough to prosecute, it means the person is still a subject of the investigation. And no, you try and find evidence. No, you bring them in and you expose everything to them.
Yes.
It's gone. You don't bring them in and tell them anything. You just, if you don't have enough to arrest, you continue to do the investigation. Of course. But look, Prof, I know you have to go. And look, I want to thank you as always for being a sport and coming on and spending some time with us and educating us. Every time you come on, we get smarter.
It certainly has been a pleasure. It has been this has been an hour and a half.
Thank you, Professor.
Or 2.5 hours. How long have you had me?
More like 2.5.
2.5 hours.
Your class go by.
All right. Thank you. Take it easy.
All right. Take care.
Cool.
All right.
Yes,
my people. That was Professor Canute Thompson from UA. He's in the education department, but he's written extensively on a variety of subjects, including corruption and the economy. We were supposed to have Dr. Alfred Dawes join us tonight, but there is a lot going on in Parliament, and he sent me a message, so we won't have him because we have less than 30 minutes to go. But sis, I know you hear the news, and I just wanna show the public just how hypocritical Jamaica law enforcement or investigative bodies can be when it comes to certain people. One of the things you want in a democracy is consistency.
True.
Good for the goose, good for the gander. If it doesn't matter who, because there's equal justice under the law. Equal justice under the law. But that's not what we're getting. And I mean, here's the thing. We don't get that. I guess in a democratic country, you're going to struggle to get it. But sometimes some of these unequal treatment under the law, they're so blatant that you say, no, man, no. We don't expect it to be perfect, but at least in some cases, the prime minister do something wrong. Yeah, man, take him to task. Look at this. Look at this thing here now. Look at the more tired to see the prime minister tired to see that report, more tired to see. This is Craig Beresford, who's now the executive director. At the time, he was in charge of information and whatever the entry point to the Integrity Commission for statutory declarations, information and complaints. That's where he was. But now, Mr. Christie has departed, and now Mr. Beresford has taken over his spot. But look at this, people. Look at this. This is a recommendation. And it says right here. It says right here, and we're going to do this every night. We're going to do this students, we're going to do this every night so that you can say it now, no sleep. The Information and Complaints Division believes that the Prime Minister had adequate knowledge and ability to confirm ownership of the financial assets and liabilities, meaning that he knew what he was doing. And it follows, therefore, that Andrew Holness, and here is the key word. This is the key word right here. This one, knowingly. Because you can make a false statement, You can make a false statement to the commission, provided he didn't do it knowingly. You do it inadvertently. You do it by mistake or something like that. You left out something and it was mistake. And sometimes, and when you leave things out, they give you a chance to bring it in. But when they say you knowingly did it, it shows intent on your part.
Rely.
Like a mens rea, guilty mind, and actus reus, guilty act. Both of them combined here. They said he knowingly made false statements for the period from 2016 to 2021. And we know what happened beyond 2021 to present. Look at this sentence right here. The Information and Complaints Division recommends that the declarant, that the Prime Minister be prosecuted. This was 2022, right here. They recommended that he be prosecuted for false information, for providing false information. To date, he has not been prosecuted. When they said we recommend that he be prosecuted, now what that is saying is that our investigation is complete. You don't recommend somebody to be prosecuted with half-ass evidence. You've looked at it, you've analyzed it, you've put it up against the law, and you said, look, we have a case here. And they recommended that he be prosecuted. Now, look at this. Remember the charge. Remember the charge, providing false information, knowingly providing false information. Look at this one here now. This came out today.
I was about to say.
This
The
came out
two
today.
Andrews have a problem with telling the truth.
Yeah, this came out in Parliament today. Now, what we see here is we saw the Information and Complaints Division recommending it for prosecution. Who did they recommend it to? To the corruption prosecutor. Where does the corruption prosecutor sit? In the commission. It's not outside. It's not in the DPP's office. No. The corruption prosecutor does not work for the DPP. The corruption prosecutor works for the Integrity Commission. However, the corruption prosecutor is subordinate, meaning that she's less than the DPP. She's below the DPP. Because why? The DPP is the only prosecutor, and this is enshrined in the Constitution, who can start a case, who can take over a case, and who can finish a case. The only prosecutor in Jamaica under the Constitution who can do that, DPP. So apart from the DPP, the corruption prosecutor is supreme in the Integrity Commission. Now, they made a recommendation, and what happened here? The corruption prosecutor, this is the difference, see it right here. The Director of Corruption Prosecution. They said, reviewed the subject report. How come they didn't review it with the Prime Minister? And how come after, if they did review it, how come, here it is, it was determined after review that Dr. Andrew Wheatley is to be charged for the offenses of, look at the very first one. Look at the very
knowingly
first one. See that?
Makes a false statement in a statutory declaration.
There it is. Same thing the Prime Minister did.
But 1 and 2, well, look at 1 and 2. Knowingly makes a statement, a false statement in statutory declaration. That's 1 and 2. Well, look at 3 and 4. Failing without reasonable cause to provide any information as the Director of Information and Complaints on the
Prime Minister was guilty of that too. He did not.
And look at 4.
Yeah, illicit enrichment.
Illicit enrichment, contrary to section
of the corruption
14.5 of the Corruption Prevention Act.
Remember, no people.
And explain what illicit enrichment is for the people in the back.
All right. Illicit enrichment is when they look at your assets and you look at your liabilities and your income and they compare it to your lifestyle. I'm breaking it down now to its common
Well, yes, sir.
And they look and say, okay, you earn $1, right? And they look and say, all right, you earn $1 you own a house that's worth 50 cents and you owe 20 cents, right? So 70 cents gone out of your dollar. But when they look in your bank account, them say $500. And when them look, them say you own 10 properties and you own 5 cars and you take all of these trips and you have all of this jewelry and your lifestyle is not commensurate with your salary, meaning that the money where you make, you're not supposed to have all of that, except if you win the lottery or inherit something, right? And when you check your record, they said, didn't win the lottery, didn't get any gifts to this amount, didn't inherit anything, so where this money come from? And now you have to explain where that money come from, where that wealth, some people call it unexplained wealth, and illicit enrichment. Where did that money come from? That's essentially what it is. It means that your salary and your assets, they cannot support your lifestyle.
Yeah, much.
It no
But
matter.
Rattigan, I just scanned it earlier. And one of the things that jumped out to me was something that the Prime Minister did as well. Declared paid zero in taxes when they made millions in thing there. Andrew, so the two Andrews have a problem with the truth. They have a serious aversion to truth.
That's a good point you just made, because now TAJ must get involved in this, because you see,
yes, he declared no, he didn't pay any taxes. It was nil.
none of the companies, none of them. Estate Bridge, what the other Estate Bridge and Imperium, media, the media company, yeah, none of them pay anything. But people, you see what happened? The Prime Minister, you know, he did all of these things. He failed without reasonable cause to provide information. They said it, the Integrity Commission said, we asked him and he wouldn't give it to us. Then they also said that he knowingly made false statements. And not once, not twice, not from 2016 to 2021. He's been making false statements, they said.
But again, Brother Rattigan, he has not been truthful going back to 1998 when he was a contractor general.
Yep.
So you see, when you look at the parliament, it's just a bunch of criminals in there. And then they're the ones who talk to poor people about law and order. What law and order? What law and order? And the thing is, you know, remember this is from 2010 to 2021, 2020, I think 2022, right? With Andrew Wheatley. And he was allowed, they sidelined him, but Andrew brought him back. And they said, Andrew back in action. He's back in action again to pick the pocket of taxpayers. Because they say what no go so near, when they say something if you don't go so near, is the word on the street that he owns all kind of things. And then you look at the people in Jamaica who are suffering, and you hear all this money that is lost to corruption. You hear they spend the most money on things where you don't see it in the people's lives, but the politicians and their friends and their cronies and their children, you see them having things that you know their salaries could not give them. Then it is little wonder why a young man with his pants sagging is driving a BMW, a Range Rover, and a Mercedes-Benz. It's little wonder.
You know, I'm watching to see what's going to happen with this one, because the Integrity Commission basically saying our work is done, we're ready to prosecute. The investigation is over.
He's going to sue.
Of course. I have his response already. I have his response. We'll play it on Saturday. But he's and that's par for the course. They all do that. They all take the lead from the Prime Minister. They all take the lead from the Prime Minister. What do you do when an adverse finding is made against? So
but they take the lead from the Prime Minister. But does the Prime Minister realize the indictment that is on him based on all of this? Because he cannot, what can he do? What, seriously? He is so compromised that he cannot tell Andrew Wheatley to step aside. Because Andrew Wheatley going to say to him, say, you first. You first.
I'm hearing through reliable sources, and I mentioned it earlier, that the feeling is that he's not going down alone. You say, oh, not for help. You not for help me. I'm not going down
Show
alone.
me your company, I tell you who you are, my brother. Show me your
And
company, I tell you who you are.
yeah,
And then
I
they want
mean,
to run the parliament like it is their personal space, and the opposition can talk and you can this and listen to me. The parliament has become a circus, and because it has become a circus, by any means necessary, shut it shit down, man. It can't continue like that. It just can't.
you know, we're still if this man is one of the 8 or 9, we're still waiting for the rest of them to come out. The slow dripping, we can't deal with it. Send out the whole of them one time.
But remember, some wasn't one report there from last year.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, sis. Here's the thing. I haven't read the report now, but believe me, people, you know me, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna stay up tonight and I'm gonna read it. So that's when I come full force. Here's the thing. Andrew Wheatley was re-elected. And remember, we used to talk about it and say, they're going to re-elect criminals. Why don't they put it out so people can make a choice and say, we don't want this guy because of this. And that's exactly what happened here. They put it out, 9 months after
And
the
there are
election.
many more like him. There are many more, but they re-elected Andrew Wanis. Andrew Wanis says have so many asterisks beside his name. He was re-elected. Well, quote unquote re-elected.
Quote unquote, we're not,
Quote unquote, because his thing, he knows it was nefarious. So
I think they're arguing that case in this. I think they're arguing that case this tomorrow or Friday.
And the thing was on the 22nd.
No, I heard that they're gonna do it. I think it's this week they're gonna do it, but I'll find out for sure. I'll find out and let people know.
Okay.
So
not the 22nd. 19 Friday's the 19th, Saturday 20. Yeah, Monday 22nd. Yeah.
So it's people. It's good news in the sense that they have made a statement now with this determination to prosecute. But then don't make a glad bag boss, because we know what happened in Jamaica, and it happens frequently.
9-day talk. But this is 9-day talk for them, and that is why they don't like social media, the real media. Because it will be kept in the public space until Andrew resign or burn down the parliament. Not literally, figuratively. You understand me? Because when you stop to think about it, Rattigan, you look and you wonder, is a patty shop? But even patty shops run better. Because everybody, every agency, every ministry, everybody around this planet. Hold on, we didn't even talk about Ambassador Marks reclaiming Paymaster. So what, is that Naira funds now going to be channeled through her business? You see the level of corruption?
Yeah, the payment will be made through this,
All right, so she's benefiting. So she's getting paid from taxpayers and still picking the pocket of taxpayers. Because that is pocket picking. You see what I'm saying?
And it's so timely. It's so timely.
It is so timely. So you see, so they make more money when they go into government. They make more. You want to be rich, become a JLP Labour member of parliament.
Yeah. LMC.
And you don't need any qualifications to have a decent job in the JLP. It's like I hear somebody said, I think it was Colin Bell, I hear said that the PNP steal with a teaspoon, the JLP steal with a backhoe. The PNP will give you the work, but you have to be qualified. The JLP would give you the work, but you don't have to be qualified.
And then you have to give them something. You have to give them something.
You have to give them, no, seriously, though, Rattigan, the corruption is out of control. It cannot get any worse. And then you add this 10,000. You add that on top of it. It's like, is there any letting up?
I watch the Minister of Justice, and in the name Minister of Justice and Peace. Them add that piece to it.
Hey, what a foolishness! What a foolishness, Rattigan. Minister of Justice and Peace.
And now pure war them a wage upon the citizens. Pure war them. I guess they must say war. I guess they must say peace through war. But they must wage war across the island on citizens, and we call it Ministry of National Security and Peace. Just in case folks didn't know, the name has been changed.
And look, but Rattigan, remember what you're gonna say. Look who is the head of Ministry of Peace. Somebody whose name is in WikiLeaks.
He was on, and I watched him, and we're going to talk about it on Saturday. And he's nuts. He's nuts. The things that he's
Rust is
talking
an
about with the
understatement.
PCNs coming, the third country nationals, people, and you know, I watch it and I have to say that I'm so disappointed in the journalists in Jamaica. I'm disappointed from the perspective of somebody who would like them to ask the tough questions. At the same time, I understand that they cannot ask the tough questions out of fear. Fear.
Well, Zara Burton held her own.
Yeah,
well, we know Zara Burton is a different kettle of fish altogether.
I didn't try this insult her to him, try insult her today. But when you listen to it, people, we're going to play the whole interview. We're going to chop it up, and when I say chop it up, we're going to stop and start, and so that you can understand. And then we're going to look at it in conjunction with the press release that they put out yesterday. You're going to see that this doesn't make any sense. And then I'm going to give you the benefit of my experience at sitting at the table in the American Embassy, several at the American Embassy, and tell you how these things work. These MOUs, tell you how them work. The whole construct of it, the whole design of it, the whole philosophy behind it, who's getting what, when, why, and all of these things. Because think about it. He said 25 people, not 10,000, 25 at a time coming, and no more than 25 can stay in the country, right? And you said to yourself, but wait a minute, hold on. What's so special about Jamaica that the American government would take the time to sit down and draft and negotiate and engage all of these people for an agreement for 25 people when they have already done this throughout the Caribbean and across the globe? Why would they pick Jamaica?
And we're told no.
Yeah, why would they come and pick Jamaica and put so much effort into it when they could go to, there are about 6 Caribbean countries already accepting these people. Why would they do that? Second point is, if these people are in transit, then why bring them to Jamaica? Let them just go straight from, they don't have flights from the US to their home country. When they say, and then get this, they said when they're in transit, they can seek asylum in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And the question is, if 5 of them out of the 25 decide, say, okay, we want asylum, does that mean 5 more must come in? Or is that still at the 25?
And they'll be free to do whatever they want, you know.
They're not detained. They haven't committed any crime against Jamaicans and Jamaica.
Exactly.
So they're gonna come in and they're gonna wander around, they're gonna be free to do whatever they want to do. And here is,
you remember the Indians, you remember the plane load of Indians, Rattigan?
Of course, some of them still walk downtown right now.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. They said, we're not going to take anybody who has a history of violent crime. And we're going to get the reports from the U.S. government. Mistakes have been made. Mistakes have been made. Mistakes have been made. I repeat, mistakes have been made. Not only that, you don't have to have violent criminals in your society to wreak havoc on your society, you know.
True.
In this technological age, all you need is a few guys with some hacking skills.
Yes.
I know they're in Jamaica.
That is the danger.
And you can see what's going to happen. You can see what's going to happen. Yeah. Me, I don't. And then they ask him. Who was it who asked him? There's a lady who asked him, "Will the MOU be released to the public?" And inadvertently, because Minister Dana Morris Dixon was trying to shut him up, but him couldn't help himself. Him said, well, it's a public it's not a public document. But he said, no, I'm going to release it to the public. Watch and see if them release it.
But here's the thing, Rattigan. That's why we have to be thankful for people who will leak things in the interest of country and not party, all right? Because if it wasn't leaked to the Gleaner, we wouldn't know anything about it until people start showing up. You know that?
Right.
So it was leaked, so they were forced to come out and say something. And the biggest insult of this all is after the sectoral debate and they were, doing regular business and opposition members were asking questions. And the speaker, she doesn't have the capacity to be fair and balanced. She should just really leave that space. Because she's imposing herself. No, ask a question. And I'm like, and people are getting up and saying, but they have to ask questions in the interest of the people that they're representing. And
I'm going to watch that.
And the truth of the matter is, I'm Team Nikisha. And I don't care. Whatever means she has to use to disrupt the parliament so they understand that it is not her home. It's the parliament.
But you see, sis, there is there is a book, a Bible, the Parliamentary Bible, standing orders. I wish they would use that to calm her down, and they're not using it.
Oh my, no. Dayton was going to use it, and you should have. You need to watch it. You need to watch how she handled Dayton on the standing order, and the other things too. And what they need to stop talking about is this Westminster style of governance, because it is not true. If it was a true Westminster style of governance, Andrew Holness and Andrew Wheatley and Chang and they would not be in the parliament. And I heard Andrew Holness say that Jamaica basically has the potential to become Singapore and Dubai. Which Singapore, which Dubai? Is he mad? First of all, he would not be, he would be incarcerated in Singapore and in Dubai. Well, you know about Dubai, so you can speak to that. But we all know that the Singapore model that he talks so, he wax poetically about, he would have been incarcerated. Yes. So to Andrew, as a matter of fact, Andrew Wheatley from 2010 to 21, he would not have been there to come back into the parliament. So it's not a Singapore model, it's Andrew Holness model.
Look, you see the thing, I've been to Singapore too, and what I would tell them is this. If them say, what them should have said is that Singapore should be like us, because on one measure, Jamaica is better than Singapore. Debt to GDP. Singapore is 171. Jamaica is in the 60s. So I'm just saying Singapore.
Yeah, but their economy is better than, and their productivity is better than Jamaica.
That's the point. I'm talking about Singapore
in black and white.
Yeah, so that's the point.
In real time,
Singapore, you must laugh after them. You must laugh.
Yeah, and their literacy rate is their numeracy rate. Their education system, everything is working better than Jamaica, even though Jamaica, as you showed the graph, has a lower GDP, debt to GDP ratio. So what Singapore is he talking about? The man has lost his marbles.
Singapore is a well-run country. I've been there.
But Rattigan, you can't even spit on the street in Singapore, my dear.
No garbage. The place clean like a whistle. The only place, I've been to another place that is just as clean, believe it or not. Japan. I've been to Japan.
Japan is very clean. But they will sweep up, they clean up after themselves. They clean up after themselves because in the students in schools.
Yeah, man, the place clean.
Yeah, Japan is very clean.
And I say that's it's part of that is cultural, because for them clean up after themselves.
They clean up after themselves, yes. Because when they have matches in the football stadium, the people go and clean up, so the students have clean, yes.
Yeah. So when him talk this nonsense to people about we want to be like Dubai, we want to be like Singapore, we want to be like what? Get out of here. Be like what?
Well, you know what is sad, Rattigan? What is sad? Yeah, there are people who will run with it and say, yeah, man, Jamaica be like Singapore and Dubai. I'm not knowing, say, no, if Jamaica was like Singapore and Dubai, Andrew Holness would not be prime minister. And we wouldn't be getting a report about Andrew Wheatley and illicit enrichment. We wouldn't be getting a report because Andrew Wheatley would not have been in the parliament. That have taken care of him. As a matter of fact, the culture is such that they would not be able to thrive in that setting.
No.
So he can take his corrupt ass and stay put and stop talking rubbish of people ears and leave big people arguments alone.
All right, sis. We're gonna leave now. So listen, I want to thank you for coming on. As usual, you're the best. And I want to thank Professor Canute Thompson for sharing his views with us. We learned a lot. And there's still some people out there who are upset with him because of the numbers that he quoted. But like I said to them, I don't fault him. He's just, what he's giving, the numbers he's giving are exactly the numbers given by
statistics.
Yeah, it's provide. But they explain it. Say, hey, these are the numbers because of blah, 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 blah. So it's not him. He's just giving the numbers. He's regurgitating the numbers that Statin gave. So if there's anyone to be blamed, it's Statin. And then it's not only even Statin, because Statin told Cliff Hughes, said, no, we don't use that unemployment methodology anymore. Because if you don't want to get everything, it's low.
Yeah, OJ too, Rattigan.
Yeah?
The Planning Institute is giving false information too.
Yeah, PIOJ.
You have to start querying those numbers because what they're saying and what is on the ground is not matching up. But you have always talked about the unemployment report and said it is not correct. Because how can a person work 1 hour for 3 weeks and is considered employed? How foolish is that?
1 hour, 3 months.
For 3 weeks.
3 months. 3 months.
Yeah. Three, because the study the survey wasn't in a 3-week period. A person worked one hour for 3 months.
1 hour.
Is considered employed.
When they come during that reference week and you work 1 hour and they ask you and say you work, I work 1 hour, I cut somebody's hedge. They say, okay, you're fully employed for the 3 months. Even if you don't work again, you're fully employed.
So the person, no wonder the poverty rate is high, because the reality is poverty is high because the people are unemployed. And if the country is doing so well, they should be better than Singapore. That's all. Make some sense, my brother. And as a matter of fact, they shouldn't want to be Dubai. Dubai should want to be them because their economy is better, their GDP is lower.
Singapore supposed to look at Jamaica GDP 60 and we are 170. We're just wrong. We need to find Jamaica.
So they should have.
That will never happen.
The education system should be number one. The healthcare system, everything.
Number one in being the worst. Number one in being the worst. Going nowhere fast. OT, lead us out. Pick up yourself. All of you lovely people. Tomorrow night you have to tune in, people, because tomorrow night we're going to talk about tourism. We're going to talk about beach access. And we're going to talk about advocacy. And we have Rose Binder from out of Germany. She will be on. We have Jamaica talk about tourism. We have Devon Taylor, Dr. Devon Taylor talking about beach access, and we have a few more people. So, and tomorrow's the last night. So please join us. Sis, take care of yourself.
Blessings, my brother, and good night to everybody in the chat.
All right. OT, where the music there? Me not hear the music. OT done with me. OT gonna sleep. All right, hold on there. Let me play it then. Okay.
The Global Jamaica Diaspora Coalition kicks off its second biennial diaspora conference online Sunday, June 14th to Thursday, June 18th from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 6 to 9 p.m. Jamaica time. Join this impressive lineup of speakers as they discuss and provide solutions to crime, agriculture, health, economics, tourism, and beach rights access. All are invited and it's totally free. No airline tickets, no hotel, no peddling. Just one diaspora, one voice. That's the second biennial diaspora conference. June 14th to 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 6 p.m. Jamaica time. Join us on YouTube channel Reason with Rattigan. One diaspora, one voice, one Jamaica. Sponsored by our people, for the people.